Welcome back to Reddit Rocky, where we dive into the wildest drama and AITA stories the internet has to offer. Today's video is packed, 13 jaw-dropping stories of family fights, relationship meltdowns, and friendships pushed to the edge. From shocking betrayals to messy ultimatums, each one will have you asking the same question: who's really in the wrong? So grab a snack, settle in, and let's get into the chaos. Story 1.
My dad missed my shows and my brother's games because he was secretly with his affair partner, and now he's mad I won't check on her during her complicated pregnancy. My dad cheated on my mom with the woman he's married to now, Lou. Their affair lasted 4 or 5 years, and during that time Lou was actually engaged to someone else. She got pregnant, and that's how both my mom and Lou's fiancé found out. At first they thought my dad was the father, but he wasn't. Lou's ex didn't want to be involved after everything fell apart, so my dad adopted her baby and raised her as his own. The problem is my dad already had me, a 16-year-old daughter, and my 19-year-old brother with my mom. We don't like him after everything that happened. He constantly chose Lou over us. He missed my shows, my brother's games, even birthdays, because he was secretly spending time with her. He told us and my mom he was working extra hours because life was expensive, but it was just a cover. Finding out the truth made everything worse. He didn't just betray my mom, he abandoned us for someone else. I've called him and Lou awful people to their faces before, which he didn't like. What I hate most is that I still have to go to his house every other week until I turn 18. My mom and brother tried to get custody changed, and I've tried too, but the judge didn't accept it. Even at 16, they don't listen when I say I don't want to go. The judge even threatened my mom with losing custody or going to jail if she didn't make me go. My brother tried to refuse once and my dad called the cops on him, which turned into a whole scene until my brother gave in. It's ridiculous. When I try to avoid things and stay busy, my dad takes away my stuff during his week and grounds me. The only reason he and Lou even thought about giving up custody is because me and my brother don't treat Lou's kid like a sibling. I don't spend time with her, I don't help, and in therapy I made it clear I'll never consider them my family. I plan to go no contact like my brother did. Now Lou has epilepsy, and she's pregnant again. She's had complications, had to stop working, and is supposed to take it easy. They have a nurse who checks in sometimes, but my dad says it's not often enough and wants me to check on her. I refuse. On my mom's time he can't force me, but even on his time I just stay out after school. He says it's dangerous to leave her without anyone checking in, and I told him that's not my responsibility and I don't care to be involved. He says I should at least want her healthy, but I don't see why I should be the one taking care of the woman who helped break up my family. My brother refuses to help too. So I'm wondering, am I the problem here? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Downloaded comment: this is a rough situation, and none of it is your fault. Lou and your dad made your life harder, and you're still stuck in that fallout. But with her health issues and pregnancy, things are risky for her right now. I wonder if there's room for you to do something very small, like a quick check-in, a short hello, or even making a cup of tea before heading out. It doesn't have to mean forgiveness or closeness, just a brief act of kindness. You might be surprised at how it feels, and I don't think you'd regret it. OP's response: I don't want to do anything to help Lou or my dad. I don't want to make their lives better, and I don't want to be put in the position of helping them through something scary. I can't picture myself ever stepping in for her. Even if my dad had to be away longer than usual, I still wouldn't go check on her. Commenter 2. It sounds like your dad turned away from your mom because he wanted happiness, and he clearly treats his new wife with love and care. You come across as spoiled and unable to see things from anyone else's perspective, with anger over things outside your control. I think your mom poisoned your relationship with your dad, which is typical of controlling behavior. My advice: stop acting entitled and actually get to know your father for yourself. OP's response: I'm not asking my dad for anything except to leave me alone and stop forcing me into their lives. I want nothing to do with him or his wife. In my eyes, they're both awful people who don't deserve me or my brother. Their kids are nothing to me either. Commenter 3. He doesn't like being reminded that what he did was wrong or that it hurt people, so he tries to make it seem normal. You're still young, and while you may not want their support, this is a chance to practice boundaries and learn to handle tough relationships. In the end, there's no should here, it's your choice. But learning to deal with selfish people now can help you later. OP's response: I don't think I could ever bring myself to go to them or ask for their help. They're not the kind of people I want in my life.
Story 2.
My friend wants me to bake her a multi-tier fondant wedding cake with gold leaf for free as part of her $0 TikTok wedding. I'm not even a baker. I, 24F, am a member of a friend group in which one member, we'll call her Coral, 23F, is getting married. She announced her engagement to her fiancé, 25 meters, a few weeks ago, and we were all happy for her. Over the weekend, though, she shared more specific plans for the wedding, and that's where things started to go off the rails. She said she's been seeing a lot of people on TikTok and Instagram showing how to plan free weddings, weddings where the couple spends $0 aside from the marriage certificate. At first I thought she meant a city hall wedding, which would be fine, but then she explained her expectations. She wants to find someone with a large outdoor space to donate in the name of love, have all the guests bring a potluck with specific assignments, a friend to officiate, a friend to photograph, another to do invites, or family to handle flowers, and even harder things like a tent, decorations, wedding favors, speakers, and a band. Coral and her fiancé aren't poor. She's an accountant at a big company, he works in software sales, and his parents are wealthy. It sounds like they just want to do the free wedding trend for its own sake. That would be fine, but she's shifting the costs and labor onto everyone else, some of whom aren't well off. Then she told me she wanted me to make the cake, and sent inspiration pictures of multi-tier designs with fondant flowers, gold leaf, and even watercolor painting. I'm not a professional baker, just someone who likes to make cookies and brownies. I told her cakes like that would take days and wouldn't turn out the same. She laughed it off and said it wasn't about perfection, just everyone pitching in, having fun. I told her that what she was describing was really just everyone else subsidizing her wedding, with time, money, and labor, which wasn't fair. Or else it meant everyone showing up to a lackluster event and pretending it was amazing. I compared it to a group project none of us wanted, since we'd all already graduated and moved on. I said if she wanted a free wedding she should just elope or go to City Hall, because this wasn't really free, it was just free for her. I may have been forceful in my wording, but I didn't swear or call her names. She went quiet, then left with another friend driving her home. Later, that friend texted me that I'd hurt Coral's feelings, and that even if her plans were unrealistic, I should have let her come to that conclusion on her own. That night Coral messaged me, just saying sorry, don't worry about the cake with no other context. Now I feel pretty bad, because she was happy and excited and never said anything mean to me. Maybe I should have just gone along with it, since she said she wouldn't be mad if it turned out badly, but I worry the wedding wouldn't be what she imagined. And I was frustrated about being asked to bake something that big. Honestly, Coral really is a sweet person, just a little naive, and people are tearing her up more than she deserves. She's always been the baby of the group, and I got frustrated. I don't know what her fiancé thinks about all of this. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. When I got married in grad school, we had almost no money. I rented a park shelter for $50, my parents grilled, my mother-in-law brought cupcakes, and I made fake flower centerpieces. Bridesmaids wore their own dresses, groomsmen just bought a matching tie, and my friend officiated after we'd already done the legal part. It was simple but lovely. You can pull off a cheap wedding, but you can't have a fancy one for free. Commenter 2. How thoughtful of her to let you drop $100 on cake supplies just for the privilege of baking her wedding cake for free. Commenter 3. Your friend is embarrassing herself. Guests aren't free labor or employees, and asking that much is just tacky. Honestly, it gives me secondhand embarrassment. Telling her the truth is like pointing out spinach in her teeth. It might sting, but it's better than letting her walk around like that.
Love Reddit stories? Hit subscribe and come back daily for more. Story 3.
I thought my daughter's boyfriend was 21 until I saw his ID at dinner. He's 29 and started dating her when she was barely out of high school. When my 42F daughter was little, she was strong-willed, stubborn, and determined to do everything herself. As she grew up, that independence became defiance. She'd sneak out, ignore curfews, and break rules. We clashed constantly, and my husband often played mediator. But even with all the fights, I knew she had a softer side, and we always tried to support her. At 16, she dated someone manipulative. He was older, controlling, jealous, and pushed her into situations she wasn't ready for. We banned him from our home, but she defended him and lied to cover for him. It ended badly, and rebuilding trust after that was slow and painful. So when she introduced us to her current boyfriend almost 2 years ago, we were cautious. She said he was 21. He looked young, fit in with her friends, and had a calm, steady personality. Unlike the last one, he wasn't manipulative or controlling. My husband bonded with him over football and cars, and I liked that he was polite, respectful, and helpful around the house. He seemed genuinely good for her, and we let our guard down. Then last week, everything changed. We took him out to dinner, and when the waitress asked for IDs, I saw his on the table. His birth year said 1995. He's 29, almost 30. Which means when they met, He was 28 and she was still in high school. I didn't say anything that night, but the next morning I confronted my daughter. She admitted she'd lied from the beginning because she knew we'd never approve. She told me it didn't matter, she was 18, an adult, and I had no right to control her life. I told her it wasn't acceptable for a man nearly 30 to be dating a teenager fresh out of high school, and that lying about it for 2 years was a betrayal. She fired back that I've never respected her, that I treat her like a child, and accused me of trying to ruin her happiness. In the heat of the argument, I snapped. I told her she had to end the relationship or move out. My husband backed me at first, but later admitted he thought I went too far. He worries that giving her an ultimatum will only push her closer to him and destroy what trust we've managed to rebuild. Now, my daughter is barely speaking to either of us. She told my husband that if we force her out, she'll just move in with him and never look back. I can't stop thinking about how she lied, how she's repeating old patterns, and how wrong this feels. But I also can't shake the fear that I may have just hurt our relationship beyond repair. So am I the problem for drawing the line with that ultimatum, or is it reasonable to feel like I can't accept this under my roof? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'd think about where she'll go if you force her out. Most likely, she'll move in with him. Do you really want to push her straight into depending completely on a man you already feel has taken advantage of her? Commenter 2. This relationship will probably end badly, and she needs to know her parents will be there to catch her. It's better to step back, be honest about your concerns, especially the lying, but remind her she can always trust you to be there. Commenter 3. You're not wrong for being upset, but you didn't handle this well. The ultimatum backfired, and she knew you couldn't enforce it. By doing that, you've only pushed her closer to him. If his intentions aren't good, that gives him more control. You don't have to like him, but staying neutral would have been better. Make sure she knows she can always come home without judgment, because she may need that lifeline later.
Story 4.
My husband has cheated, lied about money, hidden bank accounts with his mother, and does nothing with our kids, but I'm selfish for wanting to leave. Plus 2 updates. My husband, 38M, and I, 34F, have been married almost 5 years, together for 11. He has a teenage daughter from a previous marriage who stays with us most of the time, and we have 2 little girls together, ages 2 and 3. This past year has been hell. I've caught him in lie after lie. In the last year and a half, I caught him texting 3 different women, and when I try to talk to him honestly, I get more lies and gaslighting. I've also caught him messaging women inappropriately on TikTok. On top of that, he lies about money. He makes a lot more than me but refuses to share accounts. He told me he'd cover the mortgage if I handled childcare. I kept my end of the deal. But over the weekend, I found out we're 2 months behind on our mortgage. He has a history of hiding financial trouble too. Last time, his mom bailed him out and even opened a bank account with him, completely hidden from me. Meanwhile, he does almost nothing with our kids. I handle all the housework, all the pickups, and all the drop-offs for all 3 girls. I've suggested counseling, tried to calmly push for hard conversations, begged him to be more involved. Instead, I get yelled at, insulted, and called names like selfish. The stress has worn me down physically and mentally. I've lost 30 pounds, I wasn't overweight before. His reaction? Accusing me of losing weight just to leave him, then making constant snide remarks about everything I do. I can't do it anymore. I don't want to raise my girls thinking this is normal. I've spoken with a lawyer, and tomorrow I plan to leave with the kids and go to my parents. I'm scared of his reaction because his temper is explosive, but I can't live like this forever. Update 1. I left on Friday. He doesn't seem to understand what's happening. I told him I had left and explained why on both Friday and Saturday night. This weekend, he went to the ER twice, once Saturday, once Sunday, for what they called a stomach virus. He's been going to the ER a lot recently, always with his mom, and nothing ever turns up. It makes me feel guilty and anxious, even though I know I shouldn't. But the girls? They're happy. That was my biggest worry, and they seem lighter and more relaxed already. Update 2. He still doesn't seem to grasp reality. On Saturday he asked when I was coming home. I told him I meant what I said. On Sunday he went back to the ER again for vomiting. Today his mom texted to say he's been admitted with a fever and vomiting while they run tests. Hearing that made me feel awful. I don't want him to be sick. I never wanted anything bad to happen to him, I just wanted separation. The guilt is heavy, even though I know his frequent ER trips were already a pattern. Still, I don't want to see anyone suffer. The girls remain happy at my parents' house. My oldest only asked about Dad once. That gives me strength, even though today feels especially hard. This guilt doesn't make me want to go back. I hate the situation, but I know I made the right choice. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. He has his mom, your kid's their mom, and you have your mom. Everything's going to be okay. Commenter 2. Do you have any real proof of this, or could it just be made up to pressure you into going back? If it's real, maybe his stomach issues are from the stress of lying, texting other women, insulting you, and hiding money until it finally caught up with him. Commenter 3. Why feel guilty now when the constant ER visits were already happening long before you left?
Story 5. My dad stopped taking me to my mother's grave because it made his new wife feel left out. I was 7 years old. My mom passed away when I, 17 was 5. By the time I was 7, my dad had remarried. The difference between before and after was huge. Before, he kept photos of my mom around, he talked about her with me, he took me to her grave, and we celebrated her birthday. After he met his wife, all of that stopped. The photos came down, her things were given away, and he told me we couldn't celebrate or visit anymore because it made his wife feel left out. When I told him it felt like he had forgotten her, he said that's what remarriage meant, that his new wife had to come first, and that I should think of her as my mom now too. I once overheard her say she was glad he told me that, because she hated that I wanted to keep my mom between us. Since then, our relationship has been strained and toxic. I resent him for acting like remembering my mom is disrespectful. There's only one mom for me, and I refuse to pretend otherwise. He tells me to get over it all the time, and he's even searched my room and taken away things of hers I tried to keep. He writes cards to his wife from me, calling her mom, and says I'm not allowed to use just her name. I started planning to move out as soon as I turn 18, and that's when he decided we needed therapy. But for him, therapy was just about lecturing me for not respecting his marriage. He even brought up a debate essay I wrote nearly a year ago where I argued against remarriage. He had saved a copy and showed it to the therapist, saying it was disturbing that his own kid would think that way. The therapist had to stop him from talking over her and told him if he refused to listen, therapy wasn't for him. Once he finally let me speak, I told him those views were shaped by him, by his choices and how he erased my mom. I said his wife was the second worst thing to happen to me, after losing my mom, because she changed him and made me see only the ugly side of remarriage. I told him I only wrote that essay after another one of his lectures, and that it was more like a journal entry I forgot about. But I stood by it, because he taught me to see remarriage as negative, and I'll always think of him as the worst type of person to remarry. He spent days after therapy telling me I was wrong to blame him, until I reached out to the therapist about it. She tried to follow up, but he refused to go back. Now he's still angry, calling me selfish and narrow-minded for caring only about myself and my mom. And I told him that since he refused to care, I had no choice but to. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. He hears every word you say but never actually listens. People like him won't validate your feelings, because proving themselves right always comes first. Good on you for finally speaking up. Commenter 2. I'm so sorry this was your childhood. Your dad tried to erase your mom's memory, and that's beyond cruel. Moving on and even remarrying is one thing, but forcing a 7-year-old to forget their mom and treat the new wife as the only parent is just wrong. If his wife was that insecure, that's on her. I hope you can get your own therapy and that your grandparents saved your mom's things for you. Commenter 3. Your dad is selfish and emotionally clueless. You should have kept your mom's things, and there should have always been photos of her in your room. He should have remembered her with you, not erased her. When a parent forgets or trashes the other, they're hurting the child too. Move out, get therapy, and let him stay mad. Deep down, he knows he messed up, his pride just won't let him admit it. Story 6. Hours after my stepmom passed, her daughter accused me of being glad. The truth? She wasn't completely wrong. I, 16 overheard my stepmom more than 11 times saying she wished my mom would just drop dead, that life would be easier if she and my dad's family didn't have to share me. That stuck with me. My parents divorced when I was 3, and they shared 50-50 custody. Things were fine at first, until I was 6 and my dad started dating her. That's when everything changed. She and my mom clashed constantly, and every time she said she wanted my mom gone, I grew to dislike her more. Her daughter, who's a year younger than me, never forgave me for not liking her mom. She was fiercely protective of her, just like I was of mine. That meant the two of us fought a lot and never got along. Even after my half-siblings were born and almost 10 years passed, nothing changed in how I felt. My dad's wife wasn't special to me, and when she passed away a few weeks ago, I didn't grieve. I didn't miss her. A part of me even found it ironic, after all the time she said she wanted my mom gone. I never told anyone that, but I felt it. It was my mom's week of custody when she died, but I went to my dad's the next day since she passed late at night. The whole house was wrecked. My dad was a mess, my half-siblings were crying, and her daughter was devastated. I felt awkward being there because I didn't feel sad at all. My dad kept telling me I didn't need to hold back my tears, that it was okay to cry, but I just didn't want to. His stepdaughter noticed and called me out a couple of hours after I arrived. She told me I didn't look sad and accused me of hating her mom so much that I couldn't even pretend to care. I told her she wasn't my mom, and she stormed up to her room. A few days later, my dad asked me if I wanted to do something at the funeral. I told him no. That set his stepdaughter off again, because she said we were all supposed to do something as her mom's kids. I told her I wasn't her kid, and she wasn't my mom. After the funeral, she exploded at my dad and said if she had to stay in that house, then I couldn't be there. She told him she could see it in my face that I was glad her mom was gone and that she hated me. She said her mom and dad's family wanted me as a son and brother, but I never wanted that. I only ever wanted my mom. She told my dad she wouldn't even look at me anymore, because every time she did, she wanted to beat me up. My dad pulled me aside after that and told me I should try showing a little grief so she would feel better about me being around. I told him no. I wasn't going to fake emotions I didn't feel, and I wasn't staying there if it was going to get physical between us. He told me that wasn't the answer and insisted that faking grief would help everyone heal. I told him again that I didn't feel any grief. That made him angry. He said my lack of sadness was distracting and that at the very least I could have pretended. He also said my stepmom's daughter didn't want me there anymore, and he called her my sister. I told him no, we were never like that, and I wasn't about to fake grief just to keep her calm. I left and went back to my mom's house, because I knew if I stayed, it would end in a fight and I'd get blamed. My dad wasn't happy, but I stood firm. Now his stepdaughter is telling him that if I ever come back, she's leaving. She told him she was hurt that he was chasing after me instead of choosing her, and because of that, my dad is asking me more quietly to return. But I won't. She was never my mom, I don't miss her, and I'm not going to fake grief for someone who spent years wishing my mom didn't exist. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Tell your dad you overheard her repeatedly saying she wanted your mom to pass away. If he still doesn't get it after that, then he's not being a good father, and going no contact might be the best option. Commenter 2. Sibling's mom and that your dad loved her. You've tried to quietly be there, but you can't perform grief for someone who repeatedly wished your own mother would pass. You never wished her mom gone, but she did wish that on yours. Ask her if she would mourn you if the roles were reversed, probably not. Commenter 3. Sometimes there are people we simply can't mourn. It feels almost neutral, like it doesn't matter if they're here or gone. Your stepsister's grief is valid because that was her mother, but your father also needs to understand your side. Have you ever told him that you overheard his wife more than once wishing your mom wasn't around? That would explain a lot. There's nothing you can say to your stepsister that will change how she feels, so the best choice may be to let her be. You're handling a very complicated situation, and I wish you luck. Story 7.
My husband abandoned me weeks before I'm due, started dating someone new immediately, then accused me of keeping him from his child when I moved somewhere I can actually afford. I've been getting cruel messages from my ex, his family, and even some of our friends for the past few days. My soon-to-be ex-husband Levi, 33M, and I, 28F, have been together for a decade and married for 5 years. I'm pregnant with our first baby and due next month. After I graduated, I moved back with him to his hometown on the West Coast. I'm originally from a bigger city in the Midwest, but I loved living out there. I thought we were happy. We planned this baby together and were so excited. But just a few weeks ago, Levi told me he was filing for divorce. He said he didn't want to be tied down anymore, that he was still young and wanted to live his life. He swore there wasn't anyone else, but now he's already seeing someone. He wanted me to move out, but this is my house too. I paid the down payment, so he's been staying with his friend Louie instead. I realized I couldn't afford to live there on my own with a baby. Sure, I could make it work, but it wouldn't be the kind of life I'd want for us. Even with my good income, the cost of living is just too high, and I don't have the same support system he does. No family nearby. So I decided to move back home. Luckily, my company has a location there and let me keep my job. My parents have been amazing. Even though they're divorced and don't get along, they've united in their dislike of Levi. They found me a rental home and refused to let me pay them back, saying I should save to buy my next house. They're covering my lawyer and my new doctor's copays. My mom is about to retire and wants to watch the baby once I return to work. Honestly, it's been the best possible setup for me. Levi is furious. He's claiming I only moved to get back at him and that I'm trying to keep him from his child. I explained that I simply can't afford to stay in San Diego as a single mom, but he refuses to believe me. Now he's telling people I moved away to get the upper hand in custody. That's not why I left, though it does make things easier. His job has no locations here, and they wouldn't keep him if he moved. Of course, he could find something new, but he insists that's asking too much. I told him once the baby is born I'll be filing for child support. He snapped that I need to decide if he can be a dad or not. I told him he's going to be a dad no matter what, and if he chooses not to move, then he'll be a dad by paying support. I don't think I'm wrong for doing what I need to do. But I'm overwhelmed with calls and texts from people saying I'm keeping Levi from his baby. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. First off, congratulations on your baby. Stop wasting energy on those messages, just block them. If he sends anything hateful, save it in case you ever need it in court. Right now you need peace before delivery and a stress-free postpartum. And definitely go for child support. He wanted his so-called free lifestyle, and now he has it. OP's response, don't worry, I'm absolutely going for full child support. This wasn't some one-night mistake, we planned this baby together, and he doesn't get to just walk away from supporting his own child. Commenter 2. Most likely, the people harassing you don't actually know the full story. OP's response, they know he's divorcing me, but they act like I'm being petty and should just cut back my lifestyle to stay in California. Why should I give up my hobbies, travel, and savings just to make things easier for him? Commenter 3. I think amicable divorces are the healthiest option for everyone. Research shows they lead to better outcomes for kids and save both sides a lot of stress and money. That belief doesn't make me bitter. There was no reason to be cruel here. You mentioned your ex wanted an amicable resolution, but in an earlier reply you said you were ignoring him. OP's response, why are you telling me to make this divorce amicable? I didn't file, and I wasn't the one dating someone else weeks after we planned a baby. I'm focused on giving my child a good life, not faking nice to my ex. To him, amicable just means I cave to whatever he wants, like moving back or pretending nothing happened. You don't get to blow up someone's life while they're pregnant and then demand they be nice to you.
Story 8.
When I finally pushed back on being forced to babysit at 19, my dad got physical with me and said I'd always do what he said. Today I called the police when he showed up with 5 kids, unannounced. It started when I, 23F, was a kid, and it never stopped. For the past 3 years my parents have kept dumping my step and half-siblings on me with no warning. It's always been like this, even when I was a minor, I was forced to babysit. They didn't care if I missed school or work. There were weeks I lost so much class time from constantly being sent back and forth between parents' houses that the school had to get authorities involved for truancy. Instead of helping me, my parents grounded me for it. I was expected to babysit, cook, clean, and somehow still keep my grades up so they wouldn't look bad. When I turned 19, I finally caught a break. My friend's dad owned property and, knowing my situation, gave me a really good deal on an apartment. But even then, my parents would still drop my siblings off at my place with no notice. I even lost a job over it, and their only reaction was that it was good, because now I could babysit full-time. I finally pushed back. That's when my dad lashed out and got physical, saying he didn't care how old I was, I'd always do what he said. I was terrified. My boyfriend told me to move in with him because his building has a concierge who screens visitors, and you can't get in without the tenant's permission. I sold my things, moved in, got put on his lease after landing a new job with good pay and benefits, and told my friend's dad why I had to leave. He let me out of my old lease, no problem. Today, my dad actually showed up at the building with all 5 of his kids, ages 3 to 10, trying to get them dropped off with me again. I told the concierge they are never allowed up, and to call the police if they didn't leave. So that's exactly what happened. Now my dad and his wife are blowing up my phone, calling me ungrateful and saying I'll regret this when they see me. Right now I'm waiting for my boyfriend to get home so he can go with me to the police station. I want to file a report and see about getting a restraining order because my dad is a big guy and I'm scared. My friends and my boyfriend all say I'm not in the wrong, but part of me still feels guilty for finally putting my foot down. Am I the problem here? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You should definitely file a police report and keep a record of every interaction with them. A restraining order might be necessary. It could also help to alert child services so there's documentation of your parents' behavior, since the younger kids may be at risk. Commenter 2. It's time to live your own life. Their kids were never your responsibility, and if you feel safe, you should cut contact or keep it as limited as possible. Commenter 3. You feel guilty because they conditioned you to, but this is called parentification. They need to raise their own kids and stop forcing you to carry their choices. Keep their messages muted so you still have evidence if the police need it. You're absolutely not the problem here, they pushed you too far, even costing you a job.
Story 9.
It started with a slice of bread, then my coffee and snacks, then half my meal prep, so I locked my pantry and now my roommate is furious. I'm 23, and I share an apartment with my roommate Layla. Things were fine until she started treating my groceries like they were communal. At first it was just small things, a slice of bread, a bit of milk. But then she began hosting her friends at our place, and I'd come home to find my coffee, snacks, and even full meals gone. I finally told her I couldn't afford to feed 3 extra people, and she rolled her eyes and said I was being stingy with food. The last straw was when half of my weekly meal prep disappeared because she told her friends they could help themselves. So I bought a small lock for my pantry. Now Layla is furious, saying I made her look bad in front of her friends because normal roommates don't lock up food. Some of our mutual friends even think I escalated things instead of setting stricter rules. But from my perspective, I already tried that and it didn't work. I just don't want to keep buying food for other people to eat. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Roommates usually don't need to lock up food because normally, their roommates aren't stealing it to begin with. Commenter 2. Her feelings don't matter here. You told her to stop treating your food like a free buffet for her friends, and she ignored you. She kept acting entitled, so you solved it with a no-nonsense lock. If she keeps complaining, just stand your ground and remind her the lock doesn't stop her from getting to her own stuff. Commenter 3. How exactly are you making her look bad? Normal roommates don't play host with someone else's groceries. She's either embarrassed her friends now see how cheap she really is, or she's upset she has to spend her own money instead of pretending to be generous with yours. Either way, that's not your problem.
Story 10. My dad built a secret second family for 10 years, and now he expects my mom to pay for their school lunches because he and his affair partner lost their jobs. My dad had a second family for most of my life, and all of my brothers. I'm 16M, he's 14M. Dad had another woman, 3 kids with her, and helped raise her other kid who's my age. She knew he was married and knew about us, but they still built a whole family together and waited 10 years before she basically told my mom herself. It broke my mom, and me and my brother had our whole world blown up. Neither of them ever felt bad about it. They expected us to be happy. She wanted us to be close to her kids, and Dad kept saying we were all siblings who should have each other's backs and avoid favoritism. That never happened. Me and my brother are each other's favorites. We don't care about the others. We don't include them in our lives, and we don't feel guilty about it. We have semi-wealthy grandparents and a mom with real support from her family. If the other kids are jealous, that's not our problem. I hate my dad. I think he's sick. I don't have to go to his house as much anymore, but even 10 days a month feels like too much. I'd rather have nothing to do with him or his second family. The judge says me and my brother have to have a relationship with them until we're 18, so now we're counting down. We even have our phones set for the day we can finally cut contact. At home we count the days down together. My mom never says anything bad about Dad or his other family. She's civil around them, even though Dad tries to punish her. He's been pushing her to do stuff for the other kids, and she always refuses. Recently, he expected her to pay for their school lunches. Both he and his wife lost their jobs this summer and had to take new ones that pay less. My mom took over paying for me and my brother's lunches when school started again, and Dad told her to do the same for the others. She refused. Dad ranted about it in front of me and my brother. He told the other kids that Mom wanted them to starve, that she could afford it but didn't care. He even showed them photos of her taking us out to eat. I was furious. He's the one who cheated, built a second family, and now he expects her to pay for it? That's disgusting. He told me I was hostile when I spoke up. I told him he was disgusting for trying to make Mom support his affair family. He said they're my family too, and Mom should help because of us. I told him I didn't want her to. I said they'll never be my family and I can't believe he'd stoop that low. He told me to watch my language, then said my mom is worse than him because she hates the kids and only a monster would act that way. He said I should hate her for not taking care of them. I told him they'll never be my siblings in my eyes. He said Mom would let them die rather than help. I told him I don't care. He said I should care and stop treating him like a monster when he's done nothing to me. He said their marriage is none of my business and me and my brother hate him anyway. I told him I always will. Then he ran to my grandma, his mom, and she told me not to be so set in my thinking, that I shouldn't choose sides or hate my dad. Am I the jerk? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You should call him out for running to his mom every time things don't go his way. And you should ask your grandma why she tells you not to take sides when her grown son is still crying to her about his problems. Commenter 2. Your dad probably didn't tell the entire story to your grandma either. Commenter 3. Your dad can get lost. If they're struggling to feed the kids from his affair, maybe the court should reassess whether this custody setup makes sense. At 16, your opinion carries weight, and you could even bring this up with someone handling the case. As for your grandma, she's wrong. Your dad did do something to you. He broke your family, destroyed your trust, and keeps forcing you into a situation you don't want. On top of that, he's trying to punish your mom financially and alienate you from her, which is worth mentioning if custody is reviewed. Story 11.
My mom told my dad I was septic and needed emergency surgery. He stayed on his business trip and sent a text saying he was too busy with work. I, 22F, was hospitalized on Saturday because of an infection that went ignored by doctors. I didn't realize how sick I was until my mom, 50F, insisted I go to the ER instead of meeting her for lunch. When we got there, it turned out I was septic. If she hadn't stepped in, I probably wouldn't be here right now. My dad, 50M, was away on a business trip. The second I was admitted, my mom told him how bad my blood work looked. All I got from him was a text saying he was sorry I felt sick. At that point I didn't realize how serious it was, but even then it hurt that he couldn't pick up the phone. I told him I wished he was there, but he said he was just too busy with work. Things kept getting worse. I needed surgery, was transferred to another hospital by ambulance, and put on nonstop antibiotics and pain medication. My dad finally called the next day before surgery, but it was only a short call where he just said he hoped everything went well. After surgery, when I was stable, a nurse explained how close I had been to dying. That's when it hit me how bad things really were. Even now I'm okay physically, but realizing I had a near-death experience is going to stay with me for a long time. What cut the deepest is that my dad didn't come. My mom told him I was septic, and he still didn't get on a plane. He stayed at work while I could have died without seeing him for weeks. And honestly, it shouldn't even matter if I was fully septic or not. I was in the worst pain of my life. I'm his only daughter, and all I wanted was for my dad to be there. I'm discharged now, staying with my mom while I recover because I can barely stand for more than 5 minutes. Last night, I told my dad how much it hurt me that he didn't even try to be there, and that it's broken some of the trust I had in him. His only response was that he didn't mean to hurt my feelings. He doesn't understand how much he let me down. I love my dad so much, and he's never failed me like this before. But in the moment when I needed him the most, he wasn't there. And I don't know how to move forward. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. The only way I can make sense of it is maybe he didn't realize how serious it was. I feel you though. I was hospitalized in my 20s with a blood clot and my mom skipped the ER because she had lunch plans. She was only 20 minutes away, and I'm her only child. Commenter 2. You don't have to forgive him unless he shows real repentance. He owes you a real apology, not the weak one he gave. If it were me, I'd have been on the first flight home. Family comes first, always. My kids know there's a place for them with me as long as I'm alive. Commenter 3. Your mom was with you, you weren't alone. Maybe your dad thought since she had things handled, him rushing back would have just added stress without actually helping.
Story 12.
My sister lied about my stepdad walking me down the aisle. Now my mom and stepdad are uninvited, and she might be too. I'm getting married soon, and I told my mom's husband he won't be walking me down the aisle, won't get a special dance, and won't have any father of the bride role. To me, he's just my mom's +1. That's it. My sister hates this decision so much that she actually lied to him and told him I had finally come around and was going to ask him. That lie kicked off a huge fight with my mom and her husband, and now things are so bad that neither of them are invited to my wedding anymore. For context, my sister, 22F, and I, 29F, share the same biological parents. Our dad died when I was 9 and she was 2. A couple years later, our mom remarried. To my sister, mom's new husband became dad. She's always defended him and puts him on a pedestal. But to me, he was never a father. I was 11 when he married mom, and my dad had already raised me longer than he ever did. I never leaned on him for parenting or support. This divide between us has been there for years. A while back, my sister even cut off our dad's parents and siblings after they left a card on his grave calling us his little girls. She told them we weren't his anymore, that we were our stepdad's daughters, and that he raised us. I told her that wasn't true and that he could never replace our dad. She said I was set in my ways and claimed I'd understand better if I wasn't so hung up on a man who wasn't alive anymore. I reminded her he raised me longer and nobody can just replace him. That turned into our first real fight. Since then, we've clashed every Father's Day and every time our dad comes up. I still post about him and honor him. She thinks that's disrespectful to her dad. She doesn't understand how I can't just accept him as mine, while I feel like she's trying to erase the memory of our real dad. Now the wedding has become the breaking point. I made it clear her dad wasn't going to be father of the bride, and she went behind my back to try and force it by lying. That set off a storm with Mom and her husband, and I finally had enough. I told them both they're not invited anymore. My sister and I fought again, and this time I told her that if she keeps pushing, I'll take her off the guest list too. She lost it and accused me of always hating her for loving him. She told me I ruined our family by choosing a dead dad over someone alive who wanted to be our dad. I told her I could never take my love away from Dad and give it to someone else, especially someone who tried to force his way into that role. She got furious, cussed me out, and called me an ass for threatening to exclude her. Since then, I've stopped engaging with her. She keeps reaching out, telling me I'm not being fair, that she loves me, and that she doesn't want to miss her only sister's wedding. But I'm honestly thinking I might need to keep her away if she won't stop. Am I wrong for drawing that line? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Why keep putting yourself through this? Your sister should have been uninvited a long time ago. She's not letting this go. She either gets her way or she'll mess up your wedding. Commenter 2. Your sister thinks she's the main character when it's your wedding, not hers. She keeps pressuring you because she wants things her way. The truth is, she doesn't really remember your dad the way you do, and that's why you see things so differently. When it's her wedding, she can have your stepdad walk her down the aisle if she wants. But this time, you're the bride, and it should go the way you want. Sounds like she's used to throwing fits until she gets her way. Commenter 3. Your sister shouldn't be at the wedding or reception, she'll just cause drama. If your mom and stepdad can't respect your choices, they should stay away too. You don't have to follow traditions, skip the father-daughter dance if you want, just do what makes you comfortable.
Story 13. Before she passed, my wife made me promise not to date again, and now my daughter is screaming at me for breaking that vow 6 years later. 6 years ago, my wife passed away after a short illness. The day before she died, it seemed like she might actually recover. Out of nowhere, she looked at me and said, "If I die, you're not allowed to date." I laughed, promised I wouldn't, and both of my daughters heard me say it. By the next day, she had taken a turn for the worse, and she was gone by noon. Since then, I've spent my time raising my girls, and this past August, I finally sent my youngest off to college. For the past few years, I've been part of support groups for people who have lost their spouses, and earlier this year, I connected with a woman who lost her husband around the same time. I wasn't looking for a relationship, but we really clicked. We've been on a few dates, and I've been trying to keep it quiet for now. That changed when we went to a restaurant, and our server turned out to be one of my older daughter's friends from high school. She must have texted my daughter, because later that night, my daughter called to scream at me. She said I was betraying her mom's memory and breaking my promise. I was furious at how she came at me, so I hung up and told her I'd call back after I had time to think. Now, I can't stop feeling guilty. I'm 45, and I want companionship, but I don't want my daughters thinking I'm disrespecting their mom. My wife's sister actually texted me to say that my wife's request was unfair, and that her whole family supports me moving forward. She even offered to talk to my daughter about it. I don't want to damage my relationship with my kids, but I feel so torn. Am I the problem for not honoring her request? Edit, to clarify, when my wife said it, I took it as a joke, and I think she meant it that way too. The problem is my kids were there and took it seriously. They were 14 and 12 at the time. She had been in the hospital with severe pneumonia, and things looked like she was getting better. None of us thought she'd decline overnight. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. No one here knew your wife, but it honestly sounds like she might have been joking when she said you couldn't date again. You're not in the wrong for this, you're allowed to move forward. You're only 45, and it's unrealistic for your daughter to think you'd stay alone forever. I actually think you handled it well by waiting until your daughters were grown before you started dating. Finding someone new doesn't erase the love you had for their mom. It's part of healing, and it's okay to want companionship. Commenter 2. Even if your wife was serious, your daughters don't get to run your life or decide who you can be with. Your daughter needs some therapy and a reality check. Dating again doesn't mean you forgot about their mom, it just means you're still living your life. Commenter 3. My husband and I make jokes like that all the time. It honestly sounds way more like she was joking, especially since she was starting to feel better and he laughed when she said it. Thanks for watching. If you love these stories, hit that like button, subscribe, and come back tomorrow for more Reddit drama.